Okay, think about this. What if getting betrayed by a system wasn't just, a psychological thing? What if it was a literal biological attack on your brain? What if institutional neglect could physically change how you see the world, messing with colors, twisting your sense of self, and basically sabotaging your mind from the inside? Today, we're going to unravel the incredible story of how one brain, under attack, decided to fight back. Our whole journey starts right here, with this one question from a man named Dennis Verhage. Who here is the chip shop? Now, at first glance, it sounds totally bizarre, right? Maybe even nonsensical. But as you're about to see, this question is actually a profound act of defiance against a perceived biological takeover. It's the key that unlocks this entire story of systemic failure and neurological survival. So, to really get what the chip shop means, we have to rewind a bit. We need to look at the chain of events that pushed a mind right to its breaking point. This wasn't just one thing. It was a total perfect storm of biological vulnerability and systemic human failure. So here's how it all went down. First, you've got Verhage's body in a massive state of change after a gastric bypass surgery. His biology is already in flux. Then, right in the middle of this really critical period, a traumatic shock event happens, a kind of neurological whiplash. And to top it all off, compounding everything, was this ongoing systemic neglect from his employer, who was completely failing to provide legally required support. This toxic mix created this window of extreme vulnerability, both for his body and his mind. All right, so this is where things get really, really wild. How did all those external pressures, the trauma, the neglect, actually translate into a physical attack on the brain itself? And I want to be clear here, this is not a metaphor. This is straight up neurobiology. The main stage for this battle was this tiny but super important part of the brain called the supracollinear nucleus, or SUM for short. Now, you can think of the SUM as your brain's conductor. It's the thing that directs all the rhythms that make your reality feel stable and make sense. The problem? This conductor is extremely sensitive to trauma, and that shock event, it just completely disrupted it, throwing the whole orchestra, your perception, into total chaos. And that leads us to a really mind-bending question, right? I mean, we think of betrayal as this emotional thing, this feeling. But what happens when it literally changes what you see and feel? When systemic stress attacks the very part of your brain that pieces together the world around you, what does that world even start to look like? And the fallout from this, it was incredibly physical. With the brain's timing all out of whack, perception itself started to break down. Colors would look weird or washed out, like a kind of visual gray out. This wasn't just in his head. It led to this deep physical sense of disorientation. It caused what Verhage calls cognitive motor ball drops, basically moments where his brain and body just weren't talking to each other properly. It even caused physical tension right above his eyes. So if you look at it side by side, the difference is just, it's night and day. On one side, a synchronized brain gives you a clear, coherent reality where you feel in control. But on the other, a brain that's been dysregulated by trauma and stress. It creates this distorted, alien world. Your thinking feels fragmented, and you get those systemic ball drops, a total breakdown of coherence. Okay, let's bring all this biology back to that first question we had, the chip shop. When your brain is going through that level of chaos, how do you even begin to make sense of it all? Well, for Verhage, the answer was to create this powerful, multi-layered metaphor. So here's how he broke it down. It's actually brilliant. Step 1, imagine your core self, your identity, your memories, your skills as an internal chip. Step 2, the systemic forces, the neglect, the discrimination, those are juggernauts acting like a virus trying to infect that chip. Step 3, the chip shop then, is the source of the virus. It's the imposter, the outside force trying to corrupt and take control of your internal chip. Which means the question, who here is the chip shop, becomes this direct challenge. It's a fight to identify the enemy and take back control of his own biology. So you see, this wasn't some random, confused question. No way. This was a moment of absolute clarity. It was Verhage pinpointing an enemy that felt not just psychological, but biological, and drawing a line in the sand. He was literally fighting to figure out who was in control of his own neural hardware. So you have to ask, right? When you're facing this kind of assault, from the outside and from your own biology, how on earth do you even start to fight back? How do you rebuild? His answer was to basically build a whole new operating system for his own mind. He developed this framework he calls prismatic cognition.
It's a really personal, unique system of mental models and practices that he designed to consciously restore that neural synchronization he lost. By creating his own coherent internal logic, he could start to reclaim his cognitive function and begin to heal the very real biological damage.
And really, that leaves us with this huge, powerful question. Dennis Verhage's story shows us that our very identity is, in a way, fragile. It's rooted in the delicate timing of our own brains. So, if an outside force can actually betray your brain and take apart your reality, piece by piece, what does it really take to build it back? His journey suggests the answer isn't just about being mentally tough. It's about a radical fight to take back control of your own biology, your own mind.